This video is not paid for by the Three Ranger Bros. Somewhere between worlds, stories collide, heroes fall, monsters rise, and familiar universes break in unexpected ways. This is one of those stories. Welcome to The Author's Crown.
Inosuke Days. Thunder echoed across the woods, and every manner of creature scurried out of them. Footsteps crunched, not the fleeing, frightened steps of a terrified animal, but the unwavering, unaffected steps of someone approaching the source. A vicious maelstrom raged above as crimson lightning filled the sky. The determined figure quickened his pace as the storm came into his view. As he got closer to the storm, he broke into a sprint. In front of him, he saw a solid, oval-shaped object floating in midair, surrounded by what could only be pure energy. The figure stopped for just a moment, before roaring as he laughed maniacally and leapt at the object, vanishing from sight. Another slow day, Taro thought to himself as he finished his cup of instant noodles. He tossed the empty cup into the trash can without a look, and turned his attention towards the front door. Suddenly, a strange black shape appeared on the ceiling. Wind blew from nowhere, and tiles exploded as the lights flickered out. A shape fell from it, clipping a hanging sign, knocking down a shelf, and rolling across the floor, crashing into a display of rice bags. Taro looked over at the figure, and then at the damage. He looked back to the figure and said, "You broke the ceiling." The figure stood up, his boar mask tilted, and he pointed a serrated sword at Sakamoto and yelled, "This place smells like there's a strong opponent nearby!" Sakamoto sighed and stepped from behind the counter, broom in hand, as he started to straighten up the mess. The boar-masked figure yelled, "Fight me!" and lunged at him. The attack never landed. Sakamoto simply stepped to the side, as Inosuke then said, "Ah, a silent one!" He then charged again. This time, Sakamoto moved just enough to avoid, grabbed the flat of Inosuke's blade, twisted it, and flipping Inosuke onto his back, stunned. Something then clicked in Inosuke's brain as he thought to himself, "The big man, he didn't fight, he just embarrassed me." Inosuke started laughing, big, echoing, delighted laughter. He found something better than a demon. "A silent monster!" he declared. Sakamoto then looked at the chaotic scene and handed Inosuke a broom, saying, "You help clean, then we'll talk." Day 1. The store's closed. Sakamoto flips the sign to open, and suddenly, thud! Dust falls from the ceiling as Sakamoto sighs knowingly. "He's here." Sakamoto holds out an apron and says, "Here, put this on." "What is this? Battle armor? I'm the king of the mountains. I don't need any stupid armor. Yeah!" he exclaimed before chucking the apron back at Sakamoto, who catches it. Sakamoto rubs his temples and said, "You need to wear it to work here." Inosuke growls, taking the apron back, saying, "Fine," and pulls the apron over his mask and then stands there uncomfortably. Inosuke climbs on top of the ice machine, crouches like a wild animal, and scans the store. "This is my new domain." "Inosuke, please get down." Inosuke jumps off, landing in front of Sakamoto with a proud grin on his mask. "I am ready to hunt." "You're here to work, not hunt." Inosuke leans in. "Explain this. Work." Sakamoto holds up a signboard showing tasks. "You help customers, you bring up items, and please don't attack anyone." "So I must show mercy to strangers? Challenging." Immediate attempts to challenge a cardboard soda mascot to a fight. "I, Inosuke, king of the mountains, will crush all enemies of..." He stops his sentence immediately when he looks over and sees the cash register, saying, "What is that tiny metal beast?" Shin, who had been sweeping nearby, attempting to avoid the entire situation, says, That's the register. You ring stuff up with it." Inosuke charges and yells without warning, drop kicks the register, which pops open, sending him flying back into the wall behind him. Day 2. Inosuke pokes a button dramatically. The register beeps. Inosuke jumps back and gasps. It speaks! Sakamoto, we're dealing with a witch machine. He tries threatening it with his forehead. Please don't headbutt the register. Inosuke immediately headbutts the register. Later that day, Shin and Inosuke are standing in front of the register, and Shin says, Okay, let's try this again. Press the big green button. You dare command me, Shin? It's Shin. Inosuke just stares at him blankly. Shin thinks about reading Inosuke's mind, but decides firmly against it. Inosuke then slams every button on the register at once. The receipt paper spits out 3 meters of non-stop paper. Sakamoto walks up and takes hold of the receipt, gripping it like a scroll, saying, You accidentally charged someone 1,200,000 yen. Because I am powerful! You're on shelf duty. Day 3. Sakamoto hands Inosuke a box of ramen packets. Restock these neatly. Neatly! Inosuke dumps the entire box into a dramatic pile. The ramen warriors are free! Sakamoto pinches his nose and says, Just put them on the shelf. Inosuke constructs a huge ramen pyramid. Customers walk by and remove packets, and the pyramid collapses in slow motion as Inosuke drops to his knees, yelling, No! My noodle brothers! Later, Shin standing with Inosuke and says, Okay, just put these on the shelf. Challenge accepted. He stacks them in a pyramid, a beautiful, perfect, fragile pyramid. Inosuke, that looks nice, Sakamoto says. A customer walks up and takes one bag, and the entire display collapses like a landslide. Why would you do this? Because it was epic. Day 4. Inosuke grips a frying pan like a combat weapon. What creature shall fall to this pan? Just heat these, Sakamoto says as he's holding a tray of karage. Inosuke tosses the chicken into the air, spins the pan like a sword, and misses. A chicken piece hits the ceiling and sticks. The chicken has ascended! Sakamoto catches the falling piece without looking. Inosuke freezes and says, You are the strongest being I've ever met. A few minutes later, Sakamoto says, Just make simple store food. Onigiri. Sandwiches. Simple. I shall create a dish worthy of a beast god. He proceeds to deep fry raw rice. He microwaves an entire watermelon. He grills a plastic bento box. Shin walks up and says, Why is the microwave screaming? It fears my culinary strength. Something then explodes in the kitchen. That was a fire extinguisher. Day 5. Inosuke finds Sakamoto store's special promo cup sitting on the counter. He lifts it like he's discovering an ancient relic. Sakamoto, what is this mystical vessel? It's literally just a cup. Inosuke clutches it to his chest. I will name him Kaposuke. Sakamoto sighs. A child bumps into the counter, knocking Kaposuke over. Inosuke gasps so dramatically the store lights flicker. Kaposuke! The cup is fine, but Inosuke hugs it protectively anyway. Inosuke then takes a massive slurp from it and enters warrior beverage mode. Kaposuke makes liquid taste like victory! It's just iced tea. Victory tea! He chugs it and refills it 3 times in a row and begins vibrating with caffeine rush. Oh my god, Lou says as she films the entire thing. Inosuke sprints through the store yelling, Whoever seeks battle, meet me in aisle 6. He then challenges the cup. Yes, the cup. Day 6. An elderly lady enters the store and asks, Excuse me, dear, where are the noodles? I shall hunt them for you. Inosuke yells as he sprints into the back room, screaming, and he emerges carrying an entire pallet of noodles over his head. Oh my! Inosuke, we have carts. Carts are for the weak. The lady screams as Inosuke charges after her, carrying the entire noodle pallet. Not too much later, another elderly customer stands there staring at two identical bags of chips and asks, "Excuse me, young man, what's the difference between these two?" Inosuke appears behind her, upside down, hanging from the top shelf like a bat. "One is obviously stronger." The woman jumps and says, "Oh my." Sakamoto, standing somewhere unseen, says, "Inosuke, please, the floor. Stand on the floor." Inosuke drops down in front of her, landing in a crouch. He snatches both bags, sniffing them aggressively. "This one smells like weakling potato. This one smells like destiny." He hands her the second bag with both hands, solemn. I'll take the destiny one then." She walks away quickly. Sakamoto rings her up as he rubs his temples and says, "Inosuke, please stop scaring the elderly." "I did not scare her. I guided her to her path." "That's actually worse." A businessman then approaches the register as Inosuke's standing there and says, "Excuse me, do you have any?" Inosuke slams his palms on the counter. "Speak your needs, tiny suit man." Where Sakamoto says, "Polite. Be polite." The businessman then nervously asks, just energy drinks, please." Inosuke sprints off and returns with every energy drink in the store. Says, "Choose your battle juice." The businessman buys two and then quickly flees out of the store. Sakamoto appears behind Inosuke as he sips from Kaposuke and says, "We're going to talk later." Day 7. Everyone sits in the back in a circle, and Sakamoto says, "Inosuke, I've evaluated your first week." He flips through the pages and says, "Strength, excellent. Speed, shockingly high. Enthusiasm, terrifying. Customer service, concerning. Property damage, extremely concerning. Respect for store equipment, no comment." Inosuke stands there proudly. Then Sakamoto says, "Inosuke, you destroyed the register, microwaved the fire extinguisher, broke the slush machine, claimed and then proceeded to declare war on a cup, and then scared 6 customers. So I'm champion of the store?" "No. I mean, he is the funnest employee we have." Sakamoto sighs and says, "He stays. For now." Inosuke leaps onto the counter and says, "Rejoice! Your strongest warrior continues his work," and immediately knocks over the new register. Sakamoto rubs his temple, saying, "I regret this." And that's the story for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you like what you heard today, stay tuned for some awesome things to check out on the Zio to Hero Network. And thank you for listening to The Author's Crown. Subscribe to the channel! Do it now!